Hi, a very good evening. Welcome to the Dare Act Conversation series powered by the Grey Matter. Our guest today is Nikita Mamtani. She is a lawyer turned mindset and NLP coach. Well, over the last span of 9 years, Nikita has worked within the legal industry, exploring some really interesting roles before venturing into the personal development space. So, let's invite Nikita and hear all about her journey. Hey Nikita, I've sent you a request. Hi, welcome to Dare Act.
Hi, thank you so much.
How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great, excited. How are you?
I'm good too, and I'm excited for our chat today. So,
Yes, absolutely.
Nikita, Nikita, we often hear you
Yeah,
say that law happened to you by chance. Why do you say that?
that's because absolutely it happened by chance and not by a conscious choice. I still remember it was one of those days of preparation leaves which we used to have right before the 12th board exams. I don't know if they have it now or not, but we used to have that month-long preparation leave, and I was just roaming around in the house, and my father got a little furious, saying that I hope you know that these leaves are supposed to prepare for the exams and not roam around in the house. And I was like, oh no, I'm just taking a break from the studies. And he was like, okay, since you are taking a break, just tell me, what have you thought about your future? What do you want to do after 12th? And I still remember, without even thinking for a second, I don't know what came to my mind. And my instant answer was, I want to do law just like you. And that's how it all began. And so much so that I actually went ahead with taking a year drop to prepare for all these entrance exams and got get through all these national law colleges, because first time I was not able to get through, and that's why I took a year long break to prepare for the exams. And the funny thing is, I still did not get through any of the national law colleges. I had just two options left then. One was UPS. Thank God they came up with a law course that time. That was my savior. And the another one was the university in Indore, the Department of Law. And amidst all this, I also thought that I might do media, mass comm, or journalism, and I somehow convinced my dad also. But I think universe had some other plans, and I still remember 1st of July was the entrance exam for UPS in Delhi, and 2nd of July was this exam which was supposed to happen in Indore for media mass comm. And I had to fly back on first evening, and due to a lot of technical issues, the flight kept roaming in the sky for good 7 8 hours, and I was landed in Mumbai that midnight, leaving
Oh
no other
wow.
option but to miss the entrance exam. I think movies, since I have been into a lot of movies, I have attracted a lot of drama in my life in all the phrases. So, so that was it, and that's how law began.
Very interesting. You clearly had, as interesting as the story was, we understand you had a very exciting and busy college life. Please
Oh,
tell
yes.
us what kept you so occupied.
Um, I think if I could put in the simplest and the most direct words, anything apart from the studies. So initially, my most favorite thing to do was bunking all the lectures. I just didn't wanted to sit in those classes and those lectures. And slowly and gradually, I figured my way out, and I was a part of anything and everything which was happening in the college, which did not require application of what I was studying there. All the curricular activities, extracurricular, co-curricular, placement cell, and all of these things, they kept me on my toes, and I really used to enjoy all of that. And my only aim was to pass the semester then and there. That was it. a kid who will just, mug up everything the night before the exam and just throw it out in the answer sheet next morning. So that was it. And I managed to pass every time on time.
I like how honest you are about your mistakes. It's amazing.
Yeah. I'm laughing now, but back then it was not that easy because you were like, oh God, what am I doing? What am I doing? Why am I
Yeah, I'm
here?
sure.
But then, yeah, I used to enjoy and I used to just go with the flow. So that's how it went ahead.
But did you ever fear that, oh my God, I'm not studying, I don't enjoy it, what is going to happen? Where is my future headed? What about those
Uh,
questions?
no, not exactly. I don't know why. I still wonder why I was not scared. Maybe I knew I was just discovering myself, and I was trying to experience whatever I can, and I was enjoying all the experiences, learning a lot of things. So that just kept me going, and I think I had that confidence in myself. कुछ ना कुछ तो हो ही जाएगा. I'll land up somewhere good. I had that belief in myself, so that just kept me going.
Amazing. Uh, so right before your college ended, you received a pre-placement offer from Thomson Reuters to be an academic
Yes.
specialist. You would have to explain us what that means. But
Okay.
uh, to get that, like you said, you had that confidence कि कुछ ना कुछ तो मिल जाएगा. So clearly that came your way. Tell us, how was that experience to receive that PPO amidst the confusion of, questioning
Yeah.
whether law is meant for me or not? And what did your role entail in the organization?
Okay. Yes, getting the PPO, I think it was surprising not only for me, but I think everyone around me. Because someone who is not studying, who is not so keen to get into the legal industry gets a PPO. So, yes, that was a surprise for me as well. But I equally feel fortunate enough to have got that because we know that it's not easy right after you graduate and you get a job. And I think I was blessed enough to start working even before getting a degree, my academic degree. So it was a great experience. Academic specialist, I think that's because that we just came up with this title while signing my employment letter, and I also loved it. Having specialist attached to you and someone who was not into academics at all. But I think what kept me glued to this role was again because it didn't require the application of core law knowledge. So we had an online course for law students and the freshers who graduate from law. And my job involved a lot of, it had a flavor of sales, marketing, management, meeting people. I met a lot of people during those 14, 15 months, a lot of law students, lawyers, law firms, and I visited a lot of law college. I was traveling, I was on my toes. There were days when I'm just back to Delhi only to unpack and pack for the next flight next day. So it was superb. It was amazing. And I was loving what I was doing because again, it did not require me to, apply my knowledge or my qualification. So just the basic knowledge, obviously, all of us have. So just that was required, and it was more of being with the people and handling the people around. So that was it.
So, from this experience with Thomson Reuters, so one is being with the people. Clearly, you are a people's person. That's why you enjoyed that role. What other skills do you think you picked up from this stint at Thomson?
Mm, I think that was the transition phase for me because that's when I actually entered into the industry and I got to meet and know a lot of people who were there as professionals because it's very different when you are in college and the faculties are different and it's different to meet somebody who is actually practically out there. So I think a lot of me and a lot of person which I became, all that transition, it happened only when I was working because I learned a lot. I learned to manage and handle a lot of things on my own. And ours was a new segment. So you have all these challenges, just like a startup or any new business when you come up with a small team and you have to manage it all and you have to get the basic knowledge of everything around. Because I was not a sales or marketing person, but I had to do it. So yes, I think a lot of it comes from there only, from that job, because I had to do. There is no other option, no other choice. You have to work. So I learned a lot.
Fantastic. So post Thomson Reuters, you started your
Hmm.
own venture in the legal recruitment space. Um,
Yes.
how did that idea come about? What led you to, starting on your own, that too so young?
Yeah, so I think it was, I think, just 14, 15 months to my working. And one fine day, I feel the next right thing to do is get settled personally and get married. So I shifted altogether to Indore. And initially, the plan was to practice law with my husband because he is also a lawyer. So initially, that was the plan. And I started also like that initially for like good 5, 6 months. I would go to every court possible with him, and I would try to learn all these procedures and all these terminologies, which was so different. We did not read any of that in law. It's altogether different when you go out in the courts. But somewhere I just felt disconnected, and amidst all that, this idea of Legal Hire India came to my mind, and I think my last role there professionally also involved a lot of law students and a lot of meeting a lot of lawyers and people out there in the law colleges. So I was pretty confident that I can pull it off because I had that kind of skills which were required. So I came up with this online platform, and my I was more into the headhunting. We were not directly involved in the recruitment process, but basically bridging the gap between the opportunities which are there in the market and all these freshers and the early graduates. So that was it.
Wow. And any learnings you've had as an entrepreneur till now? Like, especially because you
Yeah.
started so young.
Yes, that went. Legal Aid India was pretty active for good 2, 3 years, and I was also pretty active. Received a great response, and then again in 2017, I opened up actually another startup, which was a cloud kitchen service with my brother. It was Book a Bite, and with these two startups, basically the Bookabite went only for 7 months because somehow in between my brother decided to pursue his MBA, and I thought I would be able to pull it off alone, but I could not because a lot of things personally also were going on. So I just could not. And that is my, I think, the most important learning from Bookabite, that, as an entrepreneur, most of the time in the initial stages, basically you're a solopreneur. So you need to handle pressure and you need to pull it off. You need to know it all and do it all. Like at times, if my chef is not coming, so I need to know what all is there in the menu, and I need to know how to cook that as well. I cannot shut down the restaurant for whatever days the chef is on leave. So I think handling pressure was something which I learned from Bookabite, and Legal Hire India was still there. And another thing which I have learned is that you initially need to know it all, whatever is required to run a business, be it sales, be it marketing, be it finance, managing everything, handling all the pressures, whatever come your way, you really need to be ready to face that and to come up with a solution, because many times initially you can't invest that amount of money to have that kind of manpower and outsource things. So you have to do it on your own. So that was my biggest learning.
Thank you for sharing that so honestly. Um, so you had that stint of working with your husband. Did you also again go back to practicing law, or that was the end to your law career?
No, I think in 2018, when I shut the Bookabite down, Legal Aid India was still there, but I think it was just active externally, and I started somehow feeling disconnected with that as well. But I just didn't wanted to give up on it, maybe because it was my first startup, and you have a sort of an emotional connect with whatever you open. So I thought of changing the business model also a lot many times, but never executed it. But anyways, in 2018, again, I thought of giving law a chance and practicing law with my husband. And I think it was more this time because people around me started saying that, you have the qualification of a lawyer, you are so tactful, you are so good with clients, you have all the potential which is required, and you're just wasting your time here and there. Maybe this is it for you. And you are just not giving it time, and not just not giving the chance which is required. So I also thought that, yeah, maybe, because it's been so long, I'm doing all these hit and trials, and why not do it here, of which I have all the qualification and knowledge. So, but this time, yeah, I was very clear that I'm not going to go to the court premises. And I was mostly involved in the chamber practice. I was involved in extensive legal drafting, managing the law firm, and all of those things. So that's how it went on for good 2.5 years. But yeah, I still had all those moments of, oh God, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. Maybe there is some excuse I can make today. I don't want to go. All of those things, which that constant disconnection was there with the field. So, but yeah, still I kept on.
Yeah, and it's like sometimes the voices from outside really make you question yourself.
Yes,
And
yes.
yeah, I think it's a very relatable situation. So tell us, how did the idea to become a life coach transpire?
Oh, yeah. I think the irony of my life is that despite being lost all the time and not being able to figure out what has to be done, I was pretty good in telling people what has to be done. So people in my close circle would always fall back. And it was not preaching or gossiping or giving opinions. These were some really quick fix. I would wonder on myself that I'm giving such great practical solutions to people, making it easier for them. And this term life coach had always made me curious, and I wanted to give it a try. But keeping my history in mind of so many hit and trials, I was just passing it by again and again. That, let's law is something I should focus on right now, and not something new. But last year during the lockdown, we had so many things online happening, and somehow I felt that, this is the right time. I want to give it a try. I had also started to put up my writings on Instagram now. So I just felt that, maybe I need to understand more about the human behaviors and all of those things. So I got connected to an old colleague and friend, and then she further connected me to her friend who had done NLP, who further connected me to this amazing NLP trainer who is my mentor now. And that's how NLP started.
Wow, amazing. So, you call yourself a mindset and NLP coach. It'll
Yeah.
be great if you could tell us what each of those terms mean. Also, can you give us any handy NLP tools that we can apply to our lives?
Hmm. Yes. Great. So, apart from its full form, that's neuro linguistic programming, and all those set definitions out there in Google, I think NLP is something which really helps you to manage your state of mind and maintain that. Because a lot of times, I think we do some great preparation, we put in a lot of efforts, but still we don't get the kind of results we want. And also over the years, I think we develop a pattern. There is a certain manner in which we'll behave. There is a certain manner in which we'll speak. And also there is a certain set manner in which we'll think about everything around us. And that's how I think we become so rigid in the routine that we want different results, but we are doing the same things. Like it said also that if you keep doing the same things, you're not going to get different results. The results will be same. And I think that's where the challenge also comes in, because a lot of people get into a comfort zone and they're fine with it. They're fine with, everyday cribbing, blaming about everything around them, and just move ahead to the next day. But I think that's where NLP steps in. It really helps you to train your brain in certain manner, that if there is a pattern which you have developed, you can break that pattern and you can achieve the result you want. So that's where NLP steps in. And I think one of the analogies of NLP, which I really loved and I applied, and I think that's what is required for everyone out there is to take the charge and to take the responsibility for change. Because if you want that change and if you want to change, then nobody else is going to do that for you. If you want to change the results, if you want to change something around you, you only need to take that responsibility. Nobody is going to do that for you. And secondly, I think always focus on what you want, not on what you don't want or what you don't have. Because I think that's how we start talking also to people around and to ourselves. I don't want to be sad. I don't want to get sick. I don't want to get COVID. So, in all these things, the brain's focus will always go on the words like sad, COVID, sickness, because even science says that our brain cannot process the word not. So you now need to speak in a certain manner where all these things are not there. You need to say that I want to be happy, I want to be safe, I want to be more healthier. And when you add this word more, your mind thinks that, oh, this person is
You're
already
already
healthy.
healthy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you just want to be more healthier. So that's how I think we need to change a lot. These are just little things, but they really make a big difference. Because when you keep saying things in this manner and you behave in that manner, it's a repetitive tape. So, like your favorite song, you are so well versed with the lyrics, and even the movies, you're well versed with the dialogue. These things also, when you repeat, your brain gets well versed, and that's how then it sees and it understands and it hears. So, you need to break those patterns and change it, and don't create identities which are negative. So, I think, yes, focus on what you want and take your charge, take the responsibility for change.
Very interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that. I remember, when I did my NLP certification, one was, of course, definitely self-awareness, right? That's
Yes,
where your
yes,
whole self-talk comes into picture. Another was
yes.
also, there are certain moments when you feel extremely triggered, and then there are times
Mm,
when those things don't trigger you. So it's
yes,
also sometimes to take a step back and be like, what is the reason behind me getting triggered? And a lot of times the reason is very different from the situation you're in.
yes,
So I think NLP
yes.
really helps there as well. And
Yes,
the best part
absolutely.
about NLP is it's very scientific. It's very like
Yes,
it's tangible. I think
yes,
it's
yes.
very interesting about this.
You can apply it immediately, and it is not like preaching or all those self-help books and all those things out there. It's quick. If you apply it, if you learn to apply it, you are surely going to get results.
Very well. Thank you so much for sharing that, Nikita. So tell us now that you're a mindset and NLP coach, what is your
Yes.
mission?
Uh, I think more than mission, I think my purpose now is just to, make the life's ride a bit more smoother and easier for whoever I cross paths with. That's my main motive now and purpose, because I just want people to reduce those extra steps which are involved, which I think I had to, or so many people had to go through. And that's my only purpose. And I think help them to unlock their unique. That's what I've named my organization also, Unlock Your Unique. So, and really, my most favorite story comes to my mind here. There was a sculptor named Michelangelo, and he was a brilliant sculptor. And he was once asked that, how are you so good in making these sculptures, and how do you do it so phenomenal? And he said that, you know what, each stone which I pick up, it has that sculpture already within. My job is just to chisel off the excess marble and bring that out. And I think that is what is required for each one of us. We have that unique thing, that beautiful thing within us. We just need to keep, carving out and chiseling out the unwanted things and unwanted behaviors, and just chalk out that path for ourselves and go on that journey.
Rightly said and so well put. Thank you so much. Tell us what have been your unique lessons from the pandemic?
Pandemic. Oh. I always say that although it was a lockdown, but I unlocked my unique self, so I was quite happy because that's when NLP and everything happened. But yes, I think the two biggest lessons, one has been that whatever happens around, it's not in our control. You can't have control over whatever is happening around, but you can absolutely control what you choose to do whenever whatever is happening around you. So choices make a lot of difference, and I think the dynamics of life also, they revolve around all these moments when you choose to do something or you choose to not do something, and that's how it goes on. And one more thing I think is to be grateful, and to it said that you should practice attitude of gratitude, and I say that I think the only attitude everyone needs is of gratitude, because if you are grateful and thankful for whatever you have, you'll surely be able to see the bigger picture, because you need to look around and see that not everyone has got that privilege. And especially during these times, everybody has got a lesson, and you need to be grateful for whatever you have. It's more than enough. And we have also got to know that what are the essentials and the non-essentials now during the pandemics. So be grateful if you were able to have all these essentials during past 1 year. I think that's more than enough.
Fantastic. My last question to you is, do you have any piece of advice for lawyers or law students who may not be sure about the law?
Hmm. I think two things. One is if you're getting this feeling of not being sure about being a lawyer or carry on with this career, if this is the first time and if this is in the initial stages of your career, so it's okay, it's normal, and it's obvious, because we know that it's not easy to settle down as a successful lawyer, or to settle down basically in any career. All these professional careers, they require time. So if it's just the first time and in the initial stages, I think you should give it some more time. But yes, if this has been constant, like I had, and you feel disconnected despite putting all the efforts, so efforts are really required. You need to give those chances and you need to put in all, and then come to a decision. And if despite all that it's not what you want, then please ask yourself that if not law, then what? And try to figure that out. And if you're not able to speak to your friends, family, mentors, you have some superb now, all these experts, coaches out there. They are obviously, they won't tell you what to figure it out, but they can make the process easier for you. They can reduce those extra steps for you because they have been through the different things. So I think do that. And once you figure out what, then please ask yourself that why do you want to do it? I think that is the most important question. Why plays the most important role in anything you do. Like for me, my why has been always, making things easier for people around, reducing those extra steps. And with whatever I picked up, this theme was always there. I also discovered quite lately that that was my why. So your what might have to change as per the dynamics in the industry, or the changing and the growing industry. Everything is changing so fast all around. So your what might change, but your why needs to be constant. So just ask yourself, why do you want to do that? That's the most important thing.
Yeah, and just listening to you, it struck to me that I think another why for you is, for you, connection is really important. Connection to
Oh,
what you're
yes.
doing, connection to your work, because
Yes.
that's something which is
Yes.
very prominently come out from, what I've heard you say
Yes.
thus far. So
Yes.
that's
Yes.
amazing as well. Well, I have one more question, which is
Yes.
that the 5 years that you spent in law school, and whatever
Mm.
number of years you worked with your husband in the legal field. Yeah. Are you there?
Yes, your voice was breaking. Please repeat. Yeah. Now I can hear you.
Sorry. I was saying the
Yeah.
whatever time period you've spent studying the law and then practicing the law, um, has it ever, like, have you ever thought that maybe it was a waste of time, or I would have saved more time and used that time doing something better, or figured out early on in my life what I wanted to do?
Honestly, I would not say a complete no, because such feelings do come to you when you feel extremely lost, and every day when you get up, you don't have anything to look forward to, and you are restricted only because of your academic degree. Because you have the skills, you can do more, but just because you don't have the qualification, you are not allowed to. So yes, it did came to my mind, but having said that, I think, as I said, I really enjoyed my 5 years, and those times are just irreplaceable. I had the experiences of my life. I learned so much. That was the first time I actually went out of the house. So, 1,000 kilometers away from your parents, you have to handle it all. No matter what, whatever it is, be it your health, be it anything else, you need to handle it all. And that was again the first transition. Like I said, working in Thomson Reuters was another. That was the very first transition which has made me to what I am. So yeah, so I don't regret it. It was the time of my life.
Yeah, and you clearly made the most of where you were at each
Yes,
point of, time. So that's amazing.
yes,
Well, that brings us to the end of the chat. Thank you so
yes.
much, Nikita, for joining us today, and it
Thank you
was
so
lovely
much for
chatting with you.
having me. Oh yes, same
And
here.
a big thank you to everyone who's joined us live and who will be watching
Yes,
this video later. Have a great weekend and wish you all the very best.
same to you. Yeah, bye.